Hello, Mario.
Hi, Walter.
How are you?
Yesterday you logged in at 5 p.m.
Yeah, I know, and I didn't switch it off.
So the whole sheer recording is 2.5 hours.
So can't you get rid of the beginning?
I can't. I tried, and it's not so easy to edit. I don't have editing tools.
I forgot to tell you to start again when I started. That's the problem.
No, it doesn't matter. Because you were logged on, you had to turn it off.
I logged out and came back in.
So don't do it anymore.
I won't do it anymore. I forgot to log out. Sorry.
Don't worry.
But there was nothing there, right? There was nothing
Only
there.
only your name.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I apologize. My apologies.
No problem.
It cost extra. I'll pay for it. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, we are on Yud Aleph, 11. So we said that the Ketores doesn't have physical kedusha saguf. Rather, it's kedusha's dummy, and therefore you can redeem it without a problem. Elameata. So if you're telling me that Ketores does not have kedusha saguf, loti posa b'tvul yom. Somebody who has gone to the mikveh because he's tameh and needs to wait till nightfall, Herav Shemesh, he's called a tvul yom. He's not allowed to touch truma and kodshim, but that's kodshim that has kedusha saguf. So alama tanya, why does this say in the brisa? Nosna b'macheshes, if you put the keteris into a grinder, so nifseles b'tvul yom. The keteris can become possible by a tvul yom touching it. If it's got kedusha's tummy like you're arguing, it shouldn't become possible with tvul yom. V'chi tema kol kedusha's tummy mipsli b'tvul yom. Are you telling me that thing that only have monetary sanctity, not physical sanctity? V'atnan hamanochos moilin bahem mishehu kedushu. When you take a flower and designate a mincha, and you magdish it as a mincha, at that point it has kedusha's dami only. Doesn't have kedusha's aguf until you put it into a kli sharetz. But you already over meila, you're not allowed to benefit from it. Now, kitchu bekli, once you put the flower into a kli, huchshuruli possible b'tful yom. Then it's invested with kedusha's aguf, and its full yom can damage it. Or b'mechusa kippurim, somebody who still has to bring his korbanos, like a zav or a zav or your lettuce or mitzorah. And belina, if you leave it over to the next morning. Only kitchu bekli in. It's only if it has kedushas aguf through kedushas bekli. Lo kitchu bekli lo. Which seems to imply that kedushas domim do not have are not nifsal. Elamai, what are you going to tell me? That Keteris Kedushas are goofy? That Keteris has physical sanctity? Elamiatati posel belina. If it's left over till the morning, it should be posel. Alamatnan, akoimates. Somebody who does kmitza from a mincha. Valavoina, the spice that you put on top of the flour. Vehaktoires, uminchas kohani. The Kohanim would offer a mincha every day. Uminchas kohen meshuach, the minchas kohen gadol, which was also offered every day. Uminchas nechasim, moil and ben mishahugdishu. Once you're magdish these items, you're over me'il if you benefited. But im kitchu bekli, once you put them in a kli sharis, huchshur the possible tul yom, uv'mechusu kippurim uvalina, only with kedushas aguf are they nifsal through these other mechanisms. Kitchu bekli in, lo kitchu beklu lo. So what's this case with Ktoiris? Amr le lina ka'amrit. You're asking me a kasha about Ktoiris with lina? Shiny Ktoiris, it's not nifsal belina. Even though it has Kedushas Aguf. Oil, the Tsuras b'chol hashana kula. The Ktoiris lasts for a whole year. When you make the Ktoiris, it lasts for 365 days. So you've proven to me, perhaps, that Ktoiris could be Kedushas Aguf. And yet the Mishnah allows you to be pointed it even without a mum, right? And mikom hakom kasha. That's like the same kasha we said. How could you niftu? How can you be pointed the tmimim? They're unblemished. We asked the question: how can you redeem it? You haven't. Where does the kedusha go? Amar Rabbah. That anything that's purchased for korbanos tzibur and ktoiras is offered on behalf of the tzibur leiv based in masna land. That based in makes it tonight when they buy it. Im hutzrachu. If it's needed for hegdish purposes, fine. But v'im lav, you lidmeim. Then it's only got kedushas tamim, and you could redeem it if you don't need it. That's the Gemara's answer. Amar le Abaya, the hamar hu sha'amar higdish zachar. A person was magdish a ram, a male ram, which is roy for korban, but ledamav. He says, I'm going to donate this ram, and I'm magdish it only for kedushas damim. You can't do it. Kodesh kedushas aguf, an unblemished animal that even though you try to donate it to the Beis Hamikdash through kedushas damim only, since it's tamim, you can't get around the fact that it's got kedushas aguf. And the same thing by Ktoiris and Tmidim. Since they're roy, there should be kedushas aguf. So how does Rabbah answer? Loi kasha, two different cases. That which is have kedushas aguf, the omar lidmei oila. What he said with the ram, he says, I'm donating it so that it should be sold for purposes of money that they could buy oilers for the mizbeach. So then it has kedushas aguf. But if by an aisle you just say Hada Omar Lidmei Nesachim, I want it so that the Beis Hamikdash can buy wine with it. That's only kedushas damim. Eis ve'abaya. Par v'sor shel Yom Kippur. The par of the Kohen Gadol or the sorry of the Kohen Gadol Yom Kippur. Sha'avdu, they got lost. So they needed a new par and a sawyer. And then they designated new animals. And the Chain Se'ir Avodah Zarah. If the Beis Din paskin on something regarding Avodah Zarah, they have to bring a sawyer. Sha'avdu got lost. And they separated another sawyer. And now these original animals are found. Kulan Yamusa. Dear Rabbi Yehuda. The original animals have to be put to death because it's considered they are chatases sheniskapru baleya. If the owners, and the owner in this case is the tzibur, has already got kapara through other animals, they're put to death. Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon Oimrim, no. Yiru achi yistovu. You let them graze till they get a mum. The yiplut me'am l'nadavat. Then you can redeem it, and with the money that you buy, the 120%, you buy other animals to donate to the Beis Hamikdash. Why? There is no concept. Ein chatas tzibur mesa. Yes, a chatas of an individual. If that individual dies, the chatas is put to death. But there is no concept of the tzibur dying. So there is no concept of a chatas tzibur that's put to death. Now, why should they either be put to death or graze? Lema leiv bezdin masna leim. We just had a concept that whenever a korban sibur is designated as a hegdish animal, Beis Din makes a Tanai and says if the tzibur needs them, fine. If they don't need them, they're only Kedushas Damim and they can redeem them. So the Gemara says, Avudin Ka'amrit? You're talking about Seirin that were lost? Shiny Avudin Deloy Shchich. Beis Din is not going to make a Tanai on something that's very rare. So the Gemara says it's not so. Arei Para, the Para Aduma, the Lo Shchicha, was very rare to buy a Para Aduma. Yet, Tanya, Para Niftis, Kol Psul Shabbat. Any psul that occurs to a Para Aduma, you can redeem it. Even Mesa Tivte, Nishchata Tivte, Matzah Acheres Noem Menav. You find a nicer animal Tivte. Shachta Gabi Marachasa, if you shecht it on its grill, Ein Lo P'tiyoi Loks. Even if you found a nicer one, you can't redeem it. But there are cases where the Para Aduma is Nifte Tmima. Even though, because it must be Leiv Beis Din made it tonight. The Para Aduma is not Shchiach. So the Gemara says, shiny Para Shekoche Berek Abayisi. The Para is not offered, it's burnt. So it's not Makriv on the Mizbech, so it doesn't have Kedushas Aguf. So you can redeem it without a mum. Iachi Mesa Onishchas Tifte. So why did we say then that if the Para Aduma dies or is shechted, you can redeem it? Habeinin Hamadav Aracha. To redeem Kodshim, you have to stand it up in front of Beis Din, and they have to assess its value. Now, if it died or shechted, you can't stand it up. More answers, Amani Reb Shimon, the Omar, Kodshim Izbeach, you bichlol on Hamadav Aracha. Kodshim Izbeach have this requirement of Hamadav Aracha, if you're going to redeem it. But Kodshim Berek Abayis, lo hayu bichlal Hamadav Aracha, but Kodshim Berek Abayis that are not going to be put on the Mizbech do not have to have Hamadav Aracha. Therefore, the Para Aduma can be nifta even after shechted or after it died. Freit Gemara, Freit Abaya, you're telling me that we're following Reb Shimon? It can't be, because Aim is Seifa. Let's read the Seifa of the Brisa we just learned. Shachta Gabi Marachasa, if you shechted it on its Maracha, Ein Lo P'tiyoi Loks. You can't redeem it forever. Vatanya, Reb Shimon Oimer, Para Metamet Tumas Oichlin. If you shechted a Para Aduma, it's considered food, even though you're not allowed to eat it, because Hoil V'Haisa Lo Shasa Kosher. There was a moment that it could have been redeemed and eaten. So Amar Reish Lakish, Amar Rabbi Shimon, Para Niftis Agabi Marachasa, because Reish Lakish says you can redeem the Para on its Maracha. So you see, it's not like Rabbi Shimon. Elashani Para Hoil V'Dameh Yikarit. The Para Aduma was very expensive. And we said that normally Beis Din would not make a Tanai for something not Shchiach. But here they made a Tanai that it should be used for its money value if the tzibur doesn't need it because of its tremendous high price. Amar Mar, Mesa Tifte. Para Aduma dies, you can redeem it. Now, what can you do with a nevela? Right? An animal dies, it's a nevela, you didn't shecht it. You have to throw it to dogs to eat. Like Kelev Tashlichun Oso. And are you allowed to redeem kodshim for the sole purpose of feeding to dogs? It's a bizoyon. Amrav Misharshe Mishum Oira. No, we're not using the meat. We're using the hide. So this Beis Din made a t'nai that if it's not going to be fit for its normal usage, we're going to sell it for its hide. They went to that detail. Amrav Kahana, Amri Inshi, yeah. Migmala Una, that if you have a camel and the only thing that's left from the camel is the ear, you sell that as well. Because you want to use every valuable item for money. Eisvei. Abai asked the following question to Rabba. Rabbi Shimon. We said that the Sar of Rosh Chodesh and the Sar of the Yomim Tovim and the Sar Yom Kippurim all had the same power of atonement.
By the way, Ernie, I still don't understand how you can this redeeming of the Para Aduma that you have. It's so expensive. Therefore, the Chachamim gave us a way to get money for it. And when it gets a mum, the para aduma becomes actually worthless. I don't know how much they can get for the oira, but it's not much. So,
yes, it is. It is much. What do you mean? They remember the Kohanim when they offered a korban ola, everything was burnt. The Kohanim got to keep the hides. The hides are valuable. You make leather shoes. It's very valuable.
Yeah, but a paradoma is worth so much more because of its intrinsic value. It's not like a regular hide. In other words, okay, so they let you keep that, but that money is like you take a deflawless stone. You understand? Just let me explain. 5-carat deflawless stone. You put it on a wheel to cut it, right? And then the thing blitzes, it breaks, right? So you're talking about a $500,000 stone that now is worth, I don't know, $10,000 because it broke, right? So you're taking a para aduma, which is there's no price for a para aduma. They paid so much money for it. People live for the rest of their lives. And you say, okay, fine, take the hide. So it's not, in other words, the logic doesn't sound, in other words, it's not.
Otherwise, you wouldn't get. Otherwise, you wouldn't get anything. Meaning,
I understand.
You've been learning these animals are poided tmimim. So the question is how. So we came up. The Beis Din makes a t'nai that normally kedusha saguf you cannot be nifted that tmimim, but if the seaport can't use it, we revert to the kedushas domim, and kedushas domim, whatever you can get for it, you get for it. I agree with you. You're not going to get 500,000. You're going to get 10,000. But tafasta maruba, tafasta mu'ah, tafasta. Whatever you got, and that's it. I mean, I agree with you, but otherwise you'd get zero.
Okay.
That's how the Gemara ends up. Now we're in this issue of if the seirim are all the same, ma'ush yikravu zebazeh. Could you use a Sor Rosh Chodesh? Let's say you didn't offer it, and it's a Yom Kippur 2 weeks later. Can you use it there? Amrlo yikravu, yeah, because it's all for atonement, the same atonement. Amrlo hoyel ein kapras and shava, hey ein graven, but their kapar is not the same. Amrlan kulon oil lechapral tumas migdash ukdoshim. They may not be exactly the same, but they're in the same category. Tuma. Now the Gemara says, "V'amai lema leiv Beis Din mastalem." Why do we have to? Let's just say leiv Beis Din was master that they could be used for whenever they were needed. So Rabbi answered, Rav Shimon ka'amrit. Rav Shimon Leslie leiv Beis Din mastalem. You asked on Rav Shimon. Rav Shimon doesn't hold of this concept of leiv Beis Din master. Dom Rav Ayidi Barav and Rav Amin Rav Yechnan. Tamidim shlo yitzrechu letzibur. You have a korban tamid. It's not needed. L'divrei Rav Shimon ain't niftin tmimin. You can't do it because he doesn't hold of this concept of leiv Beis Din mastalem. But l'divrei chachamim who hold of it niftin tmimin. Now the Rabbanan the pligi aleid Rav Shimon, the Rabbanan who argue with Rav Shimon that they hold that leiv Beis Din can be masda. Who is it? My ninu. Inemi Rabbanan. By Ktoires, where they pay, we get the Ktoires from 1 year into the next year by paying off the worker's salary with the Ktoires. Well, you can't learn from there to the Tmidim, shiny Ktoires to Lav Bari'iyah. Listen, an animal who's unblemished could be sent out to graze to get a mum. Fine, it gets a mum, you could redeem it. But what do you do with the Ktoires? You can't send out the Ktoires for grazing. So you have no other takon except for the way they're doing it. Okay, we'll stop here.
Okay, shkoyach.
Uh,
Okay, go ahead, everybody. It was tomorrow.